Welcome to Batshit, a frank and funny look at living with mental illness.
While we'll touch on several illnesses, Batshit is focused on those along the spectrum of bipolar disorders. I'm your host, Adam.
And I'm your other host, Brad.
Yeah, and we're both bipolar. So strap in and let's see how batshit we really are.
Oh, I hate these voices.
I love them.
Spoiler alert, pretty damn batshit. Today's topic is social media.
Ooh, the Instagrams and the TikToks and the Twitters and the Snapchats and the MySpace. Is MySpace still there? Probably not.
I think MySpace came back for musicians.
No, it
or
did
something.
not.
I think it did.
Really?
I don't know if it's still around. But
Okay.
Like a couple years back, it popped back up for musicians.
I laugh because every time social media is brought up, I say, I'm too old. I'm too old for this, even though I'm 40, which isn't ancient. I think they call me like an elder millennial. But the truth of the matter is, I just don't give a shit. I've tried to give a shit because, as Brad and I have mentioned before, we're both in the entertainment industry, and we probably should give more of a shit than we do.
Yeah. And it's so difficult to stay on top of it and to try to be, I had somebody tell me the other day, hey, if you want your Instagram account to get a lot of followers, you got to post every day at the same time. And I was like, I don't have time for that shit.
Exactly.
Like, that's just another thing on my list. And then, people are always telling me, like, man, you need to post about these film projects and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I can't go on and talk about the actors who are attached because, like, there's NDAs
Mhm.
and, the film is, everybody else behind the film is like, oh, no, we've got this release scheduled in Variety and blah, blah, blah. And, I also just hate on a side rant, like what they call vague booking.
What's that?
It's somebody will like tweet something like, guys, I just had the biggest news with this movie that I'm working
come
on. I wish I
on.
could tell you.
Come on.
And yeah, I hate that shit too.
So
So I just avoid it.
But see, here's the other funny thing, right? We've had amazing listener growth from this podcast, and it's just you, the listeners, sharing the podcast, and it's been amazing. And we're like, oh, you know what? We got to get on social media. We have to get on it and just to share it more, and we're working on that. But that is not why we wanted to talk about social media today.
Yeah.
We want to talk about social media because, in my personal opinion, it's toxic as hell for your mental health.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would completely agree 100%.
Yeah, and Brad, what was the statistic that you were just mentioning a minute ago?
About
The kids.
About kids?
Yeah.
Let me pull this up. Oh, I had it up and it went away.
Aw, see, Brad has kids, which is why I was glad he brought this up.
So this was Adam Grant posted this. I think he's maybe a psychologist, but he said the earlier kids get smartphones, the worse their mental health as adults. A new study shows that 27,000 plus people, a new study of 27,000 plus people, owning a smartphone younger predicts lower self-worth, motivation, and resilience, and more sadness, anxiety, and aggression, especially for girls.
Now, we are not saying Adam Grant is right. We are not here to promote Adam Grant's point of view or his, study that he's talking about because we haven't done the research on that. But it did inspire the episode because there are elements of what he's saying that I completely agree with. Let's start with this social media as an idea, right? Like, you're feeling bad, right? You're depressed. So it's very easy to jump on Instagram, jump on TikTok, and start scrolling through, your feed, looking for something that's going to make you feel better. And sometimes that's seeing a cute puppy. And other times that's seeing these people living an idyllic life, which is fabricated to the point where you start feeling shitty about your real life when those people on social media aren't displaying a real life. They're presenting a fabricated life because that's what gets them followers, which is what gets them money, which is their career.
Yeah. And so you're either negatively comparing yourself
Yep.
to someone who's presenting a false front,
Right.
or you're doing what they call doom scrolling.
Ooh, what's doom scrolling?
So doom scrolling.
See, Brad's got kids. He's much hipper than me.
my kids are not on social media. They're too young for that. Thank God.
Yeah, because if they were, we could get them to run our social media. Maybe
Oh, wow.
eventually, you
Yeah.
didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, maybe get them on social media.
I should start training them.
Yes, it's true.
Do some Twitter push-ups. No, so doom scrolling is where you go on and whatever the horrible thing in the news is today, because there's usually 4 or 5.
Oh, God.
You spend as much time as you possibly can just reading everything about it.
What?
Every tweet, every Instagram post.
Right.
You know, if there's a school shooting, it's like, I'm going to spend 2 hours reading about this school shooting.
Right, and then the algorithm for the social media platform goes, oh, this is what Brad wants to see more of. So they keep flooding your feed with more of these stories.
And so every time you go online, it's darker and more depressing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the world seems hopeless and without any light or joy.
Yeah. Now, when social media started, because Brad and I were both there for that. The whole idea was, I'll tell you, I was on the road. I was doing musical theater, and Facebook was just starting. And I loved Facebook because Facebook was a way for literally me to keep in touch with all of my friends who were having kids easily. I'd be like, oh, look, there's a picture of Carrie's new baby. There's a lot of pictures of Carrie's new baby. All right, either way, congratulations, Carrie, on your new baby. It wasn't Carrie voicing their opinion on the president or any other number of like mental health is not a real thing or these other crazy stuff that just keeps coming up on social media. Social media, I think, could be a great tool, but right now it's not.
Yeah. I mean, you see glimpses of that, like during the Arab Spring.
Sure. No. Yes.
You know, you see how it could be used for good.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter.
Sure.
When the protests were occurring and people were not only coordinating that online, but were showing video of like police abuse against the protesters.
Hell, even like the ice bucket challenge for ALS. Remember that a couple of years ago? People were raising money by dumping ice buckets on their head or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I mean, cool. You're doing great things. But that's not the type of social media we're referring to right now. You know, we're referring to someone on Twitter, you know, voicing their opinion about how depression's like just get off your ass and work harder, or medication like lithium's for wimps. It's like, that's not.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the internet in general is that misinformation runs rampant.
Yep.
And there's no checks in place,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you get someone will say something. For instance, we talked in a recent episode about Joyce Carol Oates saying that depression wasn't real.
Right.
There's a lot of people who were chiming in and fighting back against that, but it had hundreds of likes, and there were a lot of people who agreed with her who were drowning them out.
Sure.
So if you're coming to a topic like that and you don't know which side to take, you're going to end up siding with the loudest one.
Now, let me ask you a question, because you're on Twitter more than I am. You can retweet people.
Yeah.
Right? So if Joyce posts something and you want to share it, you then will retweet it on your feed, right?
Yeah.
Does all of the arguments come with it? Like, does all the responses to the tweet?
If someone clicks on it and chooses to read.
If they click on it and choose to read it. See, that's the other part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because Joyce posts it, it gets 5,000 likes, and 2,000 of those people repost it on their page, and people who are just doom scrolling, all they see is Joyce Carol Oates posted blank.
Yeah.
Like, they don't see the comment. They don't even see the people on, it's not about sides, but the people with more reasonable point of views, you know, discussing the other side of the topic. All they see is that one thing from Joyce.
Yeah, so the misinformation is rampant, and especially when you're talking mental health. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. There's so much misinformation out there. And the people who have the most ignorant ideas on mental health seem to be the loudest in those opinions.
Yep.
And so as you're scrolling and you come across things, it's going to feel hopeless. It's going to feel invalidating. It's going to make you feel lonely.
Sure.
Because these people are so loud, and so they seem like they're the majority.
Yeah.
So you've got that. You've got the doom scrolling. Another thing is rageaholics.
Ooh.
So people will find something that pisses them off, right? Like, well, what did Trump say this week?
Okay.
And they go on and they want to find every discussion that's happening about that. Anybody who's like pro whatever he said, and just constantly fight about it.
Just fight about it.
Because it feels good. It's addictive. You feel like you're doing something.
Sure.
If you're suffering from a mental illness, that is not even remotely healthy.
No, it is not.
To get caught into that trap. Even if you feel like I am doing a good thing.
Sure.
Right here. I'm fighting the good fight. That's horrible for your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
to be doing that on social media. You want to fight the good fight, like, go protest somewhere. Like, go
do something.
Yeah, but if you're just setting and scrolling social media and responding and typing these things over and over again and getting in these cycles, that's really horrible for you.
Well, and there's also people that instigate those toxic comments just to get a reaction.
Yeah.
They're not doing it because they feel a certain way. They will see a strong conversation going back and forth, and they will just egg it on for the lulz. You know what I mean? Like
Bill Burr joked about that in the 2016 election. He was like, I just love riling people up online. So I'll tweet something like, Trump's such a dumbass, he's almost going to make me vote for a woman. And then just sit back and watch everybody get mad.
See, that's just it. And yes, is that hilarious? Sure it is. In context, out of context, that's just not good for you.
Yeah,
not good for you. I mean,
but there are people who do that. Like, he's a comedian, so blah blah blah.
Sure.
But there are people who just like to poke the hornet's nest.
Sure.
There are. I mean, they've proven the whole like Russian social media farms,
right?
Where they've got guys setting just with the explicit purpose of pissing off Americans.
Yeah, that's a whole
because it
job.
sows discord, and et cetera, et cetera.
I just don't think it's a healthy thing. Personally, for me, again, this is all just my opinion. This is all just my personal experience. I'm going to take Instagram because that's the one I'm most familiar with. People post on Instagram during the great moments in their life. I mean, rarely, at least in my experience, do they post sad things. You know? More often than not, they're posting like, I got a promotion today, or look at this new puppy I adopted, or I'm vacationing in the Bahamas. And if you're in a bad place and you see all this on your feed, it's keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
It's like you saying, why is their life like that and my life's like this?
Yeah.
Why is like right now, Kaylee Cuoco's in fucking Aruba, and on a yacht, and I'm sitting here in my 1-bedroom apartment, and my lithium hasn't kicked in yet because I'm only on week 1.
Yeah.
It's like it's
and that gets even worse watching people who are in your same line of work.
Sure.
If you're working a job, I mean, obviously we're in arts and entertainment, and that gets bad enough in and of itself. Like, why is that person booking gigs? Why is that person selling scripts or books? But, I mean, I would imagine it'd be the same for sales, real estate.
Oh, yeah.
Any of this stuff.
Well, also,
it's like,
even like relationships, because people love to post about like new relationships, marriages,
it's
child.
Like,
I mean,
you just broke up with someone.
Yeah.
You're devastated about it. And then your high school girlfriend posts that she's having a baby.
Right. Or, there's people who are like struggling to have children. And then they're scrolling through all of these things on Instagram about like, buy the latest stroller from Toys R Us. So, by the way, Jeanette, your neighbor, just got pregnant with twins. And like, what's that doing to that person's psyche? It's
By the way, my high school girlfriend wrote me on Instagram the other day, and she listens to this, so I'm not like making fun of you. I just thought this was funny. But she was just like, it's so crazy how our lives ended up. I imagine, I forget how she phrased it, but it was something like, I imagine you'd be on your 3rd marriage and have 5 illegitimate children by now. And I was like, nope, I won.
Well,
I won. I won.
Win?
Yeah, I won. I won.
I wonder if she thought that like at the time of dating you. It's just like if she's sitting there going,
I think, and maybe that's what attracted her to me.
Maybe
she's
man.
Like, this guy.
He's going places.
I don't want to go those places, but he's going there.
He's going there. He's going to those places.
Thank you for listening to the show. I appreciate your support.
But see, that's the other twisted thing about this. So Brad and I have mentioned in the past we're both role players. Like, we do D&D, right? We do werewolf, we do vampire. When we were in high school, you had to really tiptoe around, the social circles to see who was down to play Dungeons and Dragons or vampire, because those people were ostracized. Like that was not a community that was easily accessible. Now with the internet, you can find games wherever you want. You can see that other people wear elf ears and cloaks and go to the Ren Fair.
That was actually a weird thing that got me into role playing. Was the first game I ever played was Werewolf.
Okay.
And it was this guy, Adam Logan, who was on the basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
His brother Jared, who's now a stand-up comic and writes for like late night shows.
Cool.
And like a couple of other jocks who were like, dude, there's and like some skater guys. They were like, dude, we're doing this game. Like, you could be a werewolf. And I was like, what? And so it was like totally outside of like the stereotype.
Right, that's totally backwards from my life experience. But either way, like all of a sudden you can find communities through which you can like enjoy the things that you want to enjoy, or you can find podcasts like this, like all through things like social media, through the internet,
which is the good thing,
which is the good side of it, which is why. You can't just make a blanket statement and say social media is good, social media is bad.
I will say this, though.
Is it going to be social media is bad or social media is good? Because I just said you can't say that, Brad. I just said it.
Okay, so this is a New York Times article from October 2022.
More reading.
British ruling pins blame on social media for teenagers' suicide. The internet, according to the ruling, quote, affected her mental health in a negative way and contributed to her death in a more than minimal way. And the article goes on specifically talking about Instagram.
Wow.
But there have been studies that show that specifically for teenage girls, and honestly, I would imagine this is probably true for women into their 30s,
sure,
maybe even beyond, that social media is particularly toxic because of, some of the things you were hitting on, the idealized life, and, et cetera. And we have so much just kind of baked in misogyny in this culture.
Oh, forget about it. Yeah.
You combine that with things like when we had Maggie Gwynn on to talk about perinatal and postpartum depression, the whole idea of like the perfect mother, which is a huge internet thing.
It's
You
gigantic.
know, and so if you're struggling, if you have postpartum depression, for instance, and you're going on and all you're seeing is, all these moms talking about how wonderful it is, and look at this beautiful picture of me and my baby, and
breastfeeding's what gives my child life. If you use formula, you're a monster. It's like, what are you talking? Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
And kids are getting on social media younger and younger and younger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your oldest is
10.
I bet you there's kids his age who have cell phones in his class.
Yeah.
There are. Sure there are. And they grow up on social media. And now I understand that, kids aren't necessarily looking at Kaylee Cuoco in Aruba on her yacht being like, I'm sad because I'm not Kaylee Cuoco on a yacht in Aruba. But it plants the seeds.
Well, you also get, when you're talking about kids, when we were kids, if you have something going on in school, you got in a fist fight with somebody.
Sure.
There's a bully. There's a girl you ask out in the hallway and she like ridiculed you and everybody laughed.
Yeah.
You go home and it's over.
Right. Oh.
You had solace.
Right.
You got to escape from it, and maybe even had some friends that don't go to your school.
Yeah.
And you could hang out with people who didn't know what was going on.
Right. And a week later, it's over.
It's over.
I feel awful for kids today. I really do, because, they grew up on social media. Even like, so my wife is 35. So she had Facebook in college. I didn't have Facebook in college. But 5 years younger than that, 30, they had Facebook in high school.
Yeah.
And maybe Instagram in high school, and Twitter in high school. And that's where that stuff, when you're in you're still, like, I'd say one of the most crucial developmental stages in your life. Like, everything's being recorded, everything's being judged, everything's being, it's like in stone.
And with that, like we were saying, you feel the need to constantly put on a face.
Right.
You're not presenting the real you.
No.
So these kids are being taught at an early age to repress more, to lie more, to present this false self.
And with the technology that's available, like going back to what you're saying about teenage girls, like the beauty filters that can be applied, photoshopping that can be done, it's just not fair. It's just not fair to these people who are going through their teenage years, developing at different rates.
And to be a misogynist for a minute, it's not fair dating. Because you look at their pictures online and you're like, is that really her? I don't know. It looks like a filter. Why does she have anime eyes? Does she have them in real life? Because that's what I'm looking for.
That's what I'm into. I'm into anime eyes in real life.
You go to meet him in person, you're like, you do not have a puppy dog nose. I feel catfished.
I'm totally catfished now. Although, I was talking with a female friend who was single the other day, and she's on these dating apps, and it's that idea of like, there's 5 pictures up there, and you hope they look like one of them. You hope that they look like one of the
It's
5
just
pictures.
any of the
I
five.
don't know if any of these are real. Those abs could be drawn on. You know what I mean? It's
if you go on Fiverr, there are guys in like India who that's all they do is like send me photos of you and I will give you muscles and ripped abs for your dating profile.
No.
Yeah, totally.
That's amazingly awful and hilarious at the same time. And
Which again, it's like the whole goal with that is like you eventually want to get naked with this person. They're gonna know.
Figure it out. Look, we have to be in absolute darkness, and you can't touch me.
Yeah.
That's the only way this sexual relationship is gonna work.
I mean, isn't that how all sex is?
Yeah,
I
think
that was
so. Yeah,
okay. I mean, that's how I've been doing it.
I've never had sex, so I don't know. It's just so off. It's awful. I mean, the lies that are being told to you, by you, for you, and the worst. I will say this to children. I'm not saying this to children. I assume not a lot of children are listening to this, but maybe they are. One of your biggest advocates in your life, even though you may not feel it right now, are your parents. They're your parents. They're your older siblings. They're your aunts. They're your uncles. They're your family. And your parents don't know shit about social media. They don't know how to access it. They don't really understand it. When you try to explain it to them, they have the same reference point that Brad and I have. We're like, yeah, we got in fights in, grade school, high school, and that shit was over a week later.
Yeah.
Like, they can't process, people our age can't process what these, like, kids are going through nowadays. And so now they're going through it even more alone.
Yeah, and old people are only on Facebook, it seems.
If they're even...
I hate going on Facebook. I try not to. I go out every now and then. Like, we got our Batshit group on there and stuff. And anytime you go on, like, it's like 80% of anything you see in your feed is somebody over the age of 65.
It's true. Yep. It is. The only messages I get on Facebook nowadays are my mom being like, look at this dog I found on Google. I'm like, Mom, are you just on Google all day, Googling dogs? Which keep sending them. I'm not saying stop sending them. They get me through my day sometimes.
Or like, I'll get like a crazy like uncle like twice removed or something who's like, the earth is flat. Chemtrails.
What?
Yeah. So that's
it's another episode. We'll do that on another episode.
Yeah.
So going back to the reason we started talking about all this is we're here promoting mental health. We want everyone who's listening to this to get better, to feel better, to have an easier time with the fight, which is why we're starting these communities and starting this. But we want to make it easier on you.
And too much time spent on social media is going to be detrimental to
the
that.
Exact opposite.
I mean, I've noticed now that I've been diagnosed and I can look back on things, when I would go into periods of mania, I would post like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I'm normal me, like you'll go on my account and it's like no activity for 3 months.
Yep. Yeah, you can do that. You can go back through my Instagram and you will see me posting like there's like 25 posts within 4 days.
Oh yeah.
And then it's radio silent for 4 months. And then
I got in this period where I was like manic as shit and I dropped all that weight. And I was just like shirtless pics left and right. And, man, it was so, and it's so
Johnny type of like,
yeah. And it's so embarrassing that like the second I came out of that manic phase, like I didn't know it was mania at the time. And there was just one day where I looked at my account and I was like, what the fuck was I doing? I went through and I deleted all of them. I was like, what is this?
But isn't that how you get that movie role with those shirtless pics, the action movie?
Yeah. Shirtless Man number 2.
Shirtless Man number 2 in Cobra 6.
This time Cobra's back for good.
I love Cobra. But that's another thing, right? Is you're talking about people make a living on social media. They make a living doing it. And extensions of a celebrity and actors and actresses are on social media. And you have these people that everyone already idolizes, right? They already idolize them. But now they don't feel as removed as they once did. It used to be, that Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't a real person to me growing up.
Right.
Sylvester Stallone wasn't a real person to me. They were a superstar action movie guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now you got Will Smith and The Rock talking straight to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe even responding to DMs. And it's like, oh, these people are accessible. That means
Yeah.
they're more like me. That means I should be more like them. And I'm like, bro, you ain't The Rock. You're not Will Smith. You're not poor Kaylee Cuoco. I'm gonna hit her up again. Kaylee Cuoco on a yacht in Aruba. You're not.
Please return our calls.
Yeah, please, Kaylee. Just for the love of God, answer one letter.
Yeah, my favorite social media moment ever is I got into a Twitter conversation once with Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was just like, I think she's the greatest comedic actress of all time. Yeah. I have such a crush on her, and I was just like, cloud nine.
During one of my very, very few posting sessions, I was tending bar and I served Patton Oswalt, who's I'm a huge fan of his, and I think I offhandedly said something like, I served one of my heroes, on like a Twitter post or something like that. And he responded to me, and I was like, dude, we should be friends now. And like, radio silent. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. You don't want to play D&D with me, Patton? Patton? Hey, Patton? Patton?
I'll tell you my most embarrassing celebrity story. So I was a big fan of the show The Shield.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic show.
Great show.
I had just watched the series finale.
Okay.
And the lead actor, Michael Chiklis, is so brilliant throughout the entire show, but that finale, man. So, walking down the street, he's pumping gas at the corner gas station. Okay. And I was just like, I gotta go talk to him. And I was like, I'm sorry, I just finished The Shield, and like, you're phenomenal, and blah, blah, blah. And he's just like standing there like, oh, okay, thanks. I just wanted to pump gas. And I'm just going on and on. It's probably manic. And then like when I was done, like I walked away and I was like, he did not want to have that conversation right there. He's just trying to pump gas and like go wherever he's going. And
yeah, I actually think that's really funny because like as an actor, the whole reason I got into acting is because I wanted to be someone else, not myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to separate who Adam is from who he could be on stage. And like that was what was freeing about it. So one of the components about social media is you have to be real. Like at least some component of you, like a piece of you has to be real on social media, right? Even if it's a lie, you're letting people into your real life, right? Even if it's staged real life. Yeah. And I don't have the mental energy for that. I don't know how anyone does. Whether you're telling your truth and you're saying like, look, I'm Brad, this is who I am, or if you're being actor Brad and you're putting on actor Brad persona on social media, that just sounds so exhausting. And so
actor Brad's very exhausting. Let me tell you that right now.
He's not exhausted though. You can tell if you go find those shirtless pics of him. He does great.
He's oiled up and like
ready to go.
Yeah. There was I saw months ago someone I'd gone to high school with popped up in my feed on social media, and they had apparently had just cheated on their wife and made a big post about it.
Wait. They posted about it, not the wife?
No, they posted about it like, I'm so sorry I did this, and et cetera, et cetera. And I was just like, ooh,
what are you doing, man?
First off, too much information.
Yeah.
Second, does your wife know you're doing this? Because she might not want people to know that you were cheating on her. Yeah. Like it seemed to me like if you wanted to try to make amends there, you just put a nail in that coffin.
Yeah.
Because now all her friends and family know.
Right.
And
people that she hasn't had contact with in years, maybe work colleagues know.
Yeah. And it's like you just made it impossible to reconcile.
Well, and that's it's interesting that you say that because your social media posts aren't just affecting you, they're affecting other people.
Yeah.
Any post that I make affects my wife.
Yeah.
Affects my coworkers or affects and
that becomes so much more dangerous when you're suffering from a mental illness.
Yes.
Because if you're posting something when you're manic, you're posting something when you're depressed, you're posting something, if you're suffering from bipolar 1 or schizophrenia and you're having delusions and you're going on social media all the time and posting, what the hell is coming out of your, I was going to say out of your mouth, but I guess out of your fingers.
No, your finger mouth.
Yeah.
Finger mouth. That's a horror movie I'm writing, Finger Mouth. It's scary. And again, it's forever. It's forever.
Yeah.
I was working on a show.
Even if you delete it, somebody
Right,
could have
yeah.
screenshotted it.
I was working on a show 2 or 3 years ago, and Camilla Cabello or Doja Cat? No, Camilla Cabello. Camilla Cabello ended up tweeting some stuff, some mildly racist stuff when she was 16 years old. And it wasn't like atrocious, but it was still mildly racist. And it was a situation I'm sure that she didn't necessarily have a negative, spirit behind it. It's just some stupid thing some 16-year-old said, taken out of context, and someone screened it and released it. And because they did that, Camila Cabello was pulled from one of the promos. Like, they were supposed to have an interview with a black celebrity, and that black celebrity called us up and was like, "Nope, remove that promo." And that was Camila Cabello. I mean, they're still huge. Now imagine if you're like 16-year-old actor Brad and you make one of these posts.
Yeah.
Now you're destroyed and there's no coming back from it, and they can find it, and you don't have the social clout to be able to like, oh no, think of all the the positive things I bring to society, like my glistening pecs. Like you don't have that.
Have you seen my pecs?
I know. I mean, they glisten. They glisten. You show me every single episode. You guys done the whole opening bit about us talking. He's just like deep V-neck, just like making direct eye contact
and making him dance.
Yeah, just like staring me down. I just think, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna say don't be on social media. But what I am gonna say is, go ahead. You can say
limit your time.
Limit it. Yeah.
And if you start feeling upset, or you start feeling like you have to keep going, you're pissed off at this thing, or you're just like manic posting.
Yeah.
Walk away.
Stop.
Stop.
No one cares. Like, at the end of the day, no one is going to judge you for not posting on social media.
Yeah.
No one is going to judge you for not having seen their post. Well, my wife judges me when I don't respond to her posts, but that's because most of them are about our dogs. But long story short, limit your use of it. Understand what its purpose is. Understand that there are ulterior motives for a lot of the posts that you're seeing go up from even some of your closest friends.
And you mentioned the algorithms before. Like, the algorithms are made to constantly feed you whatever gets you the most engagement.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that's usually negative emotions. Things
Always.
that will piss you off or make you sad or hurt you are the things that the algorithm realizes, oh, this is what makes them click a button.
Yeah.
This is what makes them respond. And so it will feed you more and more of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an evil, dirty little machine.
There was, about 2 or 3 months ago, one of the awful school shootings happened. And I happened to be on...
Isn't it horrible, by the way, that you have to say one of the...
I know. Yeah, don't get me started. And I happened to be on Instagram that day, and all these posts came up. And like you said, sometimes you scroll through for news, right?
Yeah.
So you scroll and you're seeing all these posts. And what I do, I get my news from NPR. So what I will do is I will see a post, and I'll be like, huh. And then I'll go to NPR and, check its legitimacy and so on and so forth. But there were so many. I believe it was a shooting in Texas. It doesn't matter. My point being is that because I was reading these school shooting posts, like I'd spend 5 seconds on them or 10 seconds on them instead of the usual like half a second, suddenly more and more of these posts are filling my feed.
Yeah.
And then there's, anti-gun legislation bills and like, oh, these people who are fighting to keep their guns. Oh, these are the people that are fighting to get rid of the guns. And it was just, I was being like, there was just a deluge of this like really negative and oftentimes violent information. Yeah. And you talked about this at the beginning of the episode, but I just think it's important to reiterate, like, they don't care about you. The social media companies don't care.
The algorithm just wants engagement.
They just want engagement.
And it will keep, if you submit to one horrible thing, it will keep feeding the horrible things to you.
Yeah.
If you watch a Rob Schneider movie on Netflix, it'll keep feeding you Rob Schneider movies.
Oh man, and The Animal's not a great movie. I'm sorry, Rob. Like, you're a background player. You know what you do in the Adam Sandler movies is great. I think what you do in the Adam Sandler movies, like, that's your wheelhouse, bro. That's your wheelhouse.
And ultimately with this stuff too, something that I had to realize for myself is when you're struggling with mental illness, especially, but even for people who don't, if you're just having a bad time, you only have the mental and emotional bandwidth for so much.
Right. Yeah.
And you need to be focusing on you and the people in your family.
Yeah.
You don't need to be focusing on school shootings. You don't need to be focusing on the election. You don't need to be focusing on this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, you reading that stuff and getting upset about it won't change it.
Yeah. Self-care doesn't always involve other people. And it certainly doesn't involve the greatest moments in their life.
Yeah.
You know, self-care involves you looking inward, seeing what you need, and giving yourself it. And I'm not going to speak for you, but I doubt very highly it's looking at a photo of Kaylee Cuoco in Aruba on a yacht.
Right above a news story about children being murdered.
Yeah. So, again, we're not experts.
And we're also not saying Kaylee Cuoco murdered those children.
No.
But I'm just saying there's some questions.
Follow us on Instagram. No, seriously, follow us on Instagram.
Now that we've trashed social media, make sure you follow us on social media.
But here's what I will say, though. If you are trying to contact us through social media, we apologize if we don't get back to you right away. Neither one of us is good at it. There was literally a point in time where when we started this, and we were like, we got to get on social media. And I went to Brad, and I'm like, can we, go to a high school campus and find a child and pay them? And I'm like, as I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, nope, we can't do that. Nope. But it's that idea of, it's a great way to contact us. It's a great way to post questions or thoughts. But if we don't respond right away or or whatever, we apologize. Nothing to do with you. All to do with our hate of social media.
Yeah, and practicing self-care for ourselves.
Yeah. A lot of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Keep listening. Keep sharing. We love you.